Welcome, LifeBlood. This is George G, and the time is right. Welcome. Today's guest is strong and powerful, Joe Eschleman. Joe, are you ready to do this?
George, let's do it. Nice to see you. How are you?
I am doing great, man. A plus, Joe. A plus. We were just talking about how there's no such thing as an A plus.
Well,
Stop.
maybe in theory there is, but I don't know. When reality strikes, it may not quite be that pretty of a grade.
Right. Well, I'm doing awesome. Joe is a CIMA, Certified Investment Management Analyst. He is the president of Towerpoint Wealth. Joe, I'm excited to have you on. Tell us a little bit about your personal life, some more about your work, and why you do what you do.
Yeah, well, it's a pleasure to be here, George. I appreciate the opportunity to be a guest and contribute, hopefully, to the content of LifeBlood. So I am a native Pennsylvanian, born and raised. I am a Philadelphia Eagles fan, a Phillies fan, a Sixers fan, and a Penn State fan. So I like sports. But I've been in California now, Sacramento in particular, which is where Towerpoint Wealth is based since 1999. So I talked to my wife and said it's interesting that we've now lived in California longer than we've lived in Pennsylvania, because she's from Pennsylvania as well. We both came out here separately, but she came out to study and I came out because I was working in New Jersey and didn't like my job, and she was out here. So I was 22 and didn't have much to lose. So I told my boss to get lost, packed up my 1991 Ford Explorer to the gills, and drove from Reading, Pennsylvania to St. Louis, Missouri, slept in a rest stop in St. Louis, Missouri that first night. And then from St. Louis, I woke up about 4 hours later and drove to Laramie, Wyoming, and splurged on a $20 hotel room. And then from Laramie, drove to Sacramento on that third day, and I've been in California ever since. So it's been an interesting and enjoyable ride for the most part. It took a little getting used to understand how things work in California, which is definitely different than Pennsylvania. But all in all, I've built a wonderful family and a wonderful life, and certainly a wonderful practice, and now a wonderful wealth management firm here at Towerpoint Wealth, and happy to be a guest today.
Nice. And your daughter's a softball player.
Daughter is a softball player. The apple doesn't fall too far from the tree. I was a baseball player in high school, actually played ball 4 years at Lehigh University as well, as a pitcher there. And she's a freshman in high school. So that comes with its own set of unique responsibilities and challenges. And my son, who's 12, his name is Henry. He's a baseball player as well. But it was fun yesterday. I know you and I were talking a little bit offline, where Josephine actually had her first high school softball game. She was fortunate enough to make the varsity and drove about 45 minutes, which hopefully not all the games are that far away, but 45 minutes to see her first game yesterday. So
nice.
Pretty exciting mini moment as a parent.
Yeah. And were you just casually sitting watching everything go down, Joe, or are you more of an active participant?
Yeah, well, it's one of the things about being from the East Coast and now living in the West is having the East Coast edge, which I don't think will ever go away. But as I continue to get older, George, and continue to slowly mellow, portions of that edge get a little bit rounded out. But I wouldn't say I'm necessarily a casual observer at the games, although my commentary and opinions have gotten a little bit quieter as I've participated in kids' sports. But funny story about yesterday, as I was watching her play ball, we were in a bit more of a country town outside of Sacramento. It's called Shingle Springs, and they were playing at a place called Ponderosa High School. And it was a beautiful softball field, beautiful facility, but right next to the softball field is an old, kind of dilapidated country house with a concurrent, dilapidated to some degree, country backyard. Think rusty swing set, piles of debris, and they had a junkyard dog back there as well.
Obviously.
And, yeah, I know you and I were laughing a little bit about this. So throughout the softball game, there were some foul balls that went directly back, bounced off of the concrete that was behind the softball field and into the backyard of this country home and the junkyard dog's residence. And There was about 3 foul balls that went back there, and there was probably 20 fans in the crowd, obviously all parents. Everyone's looking at each other saying, we're not gonna go get those, usually go out and get the foul ball and throw it back in. But because of where they were located, the fencing around there was barbed wire. It was about waist high. And again, a big doghouse and a big dog. But I was eyeballing it, and I thought to myself, the hell with it. I'm going to go get those softballs and, get them back in. So kind of look around, jump over the barbed wire fence, do a mad dash to pick one up, no sign of the dog, mad dash to pick the second one up. And sure as you know what, Lassie comes running out the door, barking because I'm encroaching on her territory. So I picked the second ball up, not the third, jumped over the barbed wire fence and returned the balls to the softball field. And my daughter, Josephine, did comment, why did you have to make a scene at my first high school softball game? I said, well, at least it wasn't a scene where I was telling the umpires they were doing a bad job or telling her she was doing bad.
Right. Or getting mauled by Lassie, because it could have gotten a lot worse, daughter.
I could have got a lot worse, but I got the blood flowing during a slow part of the game, and let's have a little bit of fun. It reminds me of the time when one of the softballs got stuck in the fencing about 25 feet up, and I climbed all the way to the top of the fence and got the ball and brought it back down.
Have you ever heard the phrase, how you do one thing is how you do everything, Joe?
It certainly resonates to some degree, where I definitely wouldn't say I'm a type B personality. We'll leave it at that.
I think that's awesome. You see an opportunity.
Anyhow, sorry for the tangent, but it was entertaining.
No, I think that's awesome. And I think it ties in nicely to the fact that you are a driven, hardworking person. And I think that you shared that you got that from your dad, but you are an early morning person.
Yes, a member, I don't know if proud is the right adjective to use, but a member of the 4 a.m. club. When I launched Towerpoint Wealth, it was a bit of a goat rodeo as we separated from our former employer and decided to hang our shingle and go fully independent. Looking back on that, I do not regret it at all and wish it would have happened sooner. And we're ecstatic and happy where we are, and certainly working hard to be the premier wealth management firm here in Sacramento. But with that being the case and being an entrepreneur, getting up early seems to be the only time I have for peace and quiet, from about 4 a.m. to 6:45 when the kids' alarms go off, and then all hell breaks loose again. But yeah, definitely proud member of that 4 a.m. club, no doubt.
Yeah. I too. I've never referred to it as a club, because I think it's a pretty crappy club that I'm also a member of. But it just kind of is what it is. And it sounds like we have pretty similar schedules. Because my kids also get up at 6:45 ish, so it does give you a little bit of time.
Yeah, well, and again too, I go to the softball games, go to baseball practice, and as much as I love what I do, being dad and husband, obviously comes first. And if we're going to cut out of work at 3 or 4 o'clock, then work's got to get done, and that seems the best time to do it.
Yeah.
Funny side story.
Yeah.
For Christmas, I don't know how much you're into wearables or not, but I got this Whoop, which are pretty popular. Steph Curry wears one, not that I'm professing to be anywhere near him. And one of the things that the Whoop measures is the quantity of sleep and the quality of sleep, and then measures all these different aspects of your body, and then it brings recommendations to you. And I'm excited about wearing that, excited about all the analytics and metrics. One small frustration point is when I was wearing my Whoop for the first time for about a week, and it recommended that my ideal bedtime was 6:19 p.m.
Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah. Apparently the Whoop's not quite familiar with what the schedule looks like, but so if you can find a way for me to get my ideal amount of sleep based on 6:19 bedtime, George, I am all ears.
Yeah. I'll circle back on you with that.
Yeah, right.
So I do not happily jump out of bed when my alarm goes off, and it goes off at 3:45. And
oh boy.
And it hurts every time. And I say to myself, everything I want in life is on the other side of this alarm. And I stand up and I leave my room. Tell me about how you feel when your alarm goes off and what that looks like.
Yeah, it's funny. I don't recall who told me, but if you want to get ahead in life and to, we all define success differently, needless to say. But if we want to accomplish things that other people aren't able or willing to accomplish, we have to do things that other people aren't willing or able to do so. And certainly that's inclusive of an early morning alarm. Am I in love with that? No. Do I enjoy a Sunday where we're sleeping in until 6 or 6:30? Absolutely. When I was 25, would I say sleep until 6:30 is sleeping in? I'd probably laugh at that. I was perhaps only getting in at 6:30 some evenings.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just a price you pay.
Yeah, it's different seasons of life too, right?
That's for
So
sure, George.
different seasons of life. So
Yeah.
moving out, packing everything into the Ford Explorer, heading out to a new part of the world, a new city, a new state where you don't know anybody at all except for your girlfriend,
Megan.
soon to be
Yep.
wife, and getting into or keeping going with financial services. I can't quite remember that point. How did you start? How did you actually make it all happen?
Monster.com. So I came out and was equipped with about $600 in my bank account and a college degree. And like you said, I didn't know anyone other than Megan. I didn't have a lot to lose by making the decision to drive 3,000 miles and move westward. But again, I figured, what the heck? Let's take the opportunity and make it happen. And so once I moved out and moved in with her, I sold dog food for a while for what was called Dr. Ballard's. It was a weird new line of dog food, and obviously that's a difficult market to penetrate, but that was a stopgap until I could obviously put my degree to some use. And I saw an advertisement on monster.com for what was called a financial advisor in training program through what was then Prudential Securities. And I'm still friends with him to this day. I went in and interviewed with a gentleman by the name of Ron Toll, who was the manager at the time for Prudential Securities, as a semi-ignorant but bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, not going to take no for an answer 23-year-old. And fortunately, I was hired by Ron after telling him that I wasn't going to fail because I was going to outwork him. He got to the office at 6 and he left at 7 in the evening. And he told me that as long as you're here before me and you are here when I leave, I won't fire you, Joe.
Deal.
That was doable. Yeah. So no, I didn't know a soul in Sacramento, but was fortunate enough to be hired as a financial advisor in training, went through Prudential's training program, and proceeded to make, at that time, it was early 2000s, cold calling was still in vogue. And I made 200, 250, 300 cold calls a day to build my practice, build pipeline, build clientele.
Nice.
Glutton for punishment.
Yeah. Well, amen. And now fast forward, gosh, 22, 23 years, 24 years or so.
Plus or minus.
And you are the president of one of the preeminent wealth management firms in Sacramento, and you're a fully independent firm doing integrated financial planning, investment management, and you're waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning and still working super hard. And I imagine you don't have to necessarily, or maybe you do. Is that just, is it in your DNA? This is a story of commitment, Joe.
Well, I mean, short answer, yes. There are plenty of days where, you always want what you don't got, right? That being a traditional 8 to 4, 8 to 5 type job, or whatever the case might be. And those type of jobs and positions are important and wonderful and fit the right type of person and fit the right type of personality. But, we have a vision here at Towerpoint, George, of being the premier wealth management firm in the greater capital region. So we're not there yet. We've certainly made a lot of important strides in the almost 5 years that we've now officially been launched as a firm. We feel we've got a tremendous amount of competitive advantage over some of our financial advisor peers here in the area for reasons we can touch upon if we'd like. And that in and of itself leads to, enough motivation and fire to want to continue to compete on a daily basis. And I love to compete and love to battle and love to get after it every day, George. So that's what makes it fun. And, trying to help the kids understand that, some days you do all right and some days you get your butt kicked, but that's all part of the fun, if you will.
Yeah. Some days you get the ball and some days Lassie gets you, for lack of a better example.
Yeah. Well, and the word grit, is one that I take some pride in and certainly is a value I want to instill in both Henry and Josephine. And, I think if you do want to be a successful entrepreneur and you don't have grit, then good luck to you.
Yeah, no, I 1,000% agree. It's, there's immense responsibility that you have taken on as at founding this firm. And now you're an employer and you're obviously responsible for all of your clients and you've got a family and you're leading yourself, you're minding your own health on a daily basis and all these things. How do you think about that? Do you think a lot about leading by example? Is that how often is that on your mind?
Yeah, I mean, it's gotten to the point now, and it's interesting because I get that's what's made me a full-fledged adult. And that kind of takes a little bit of time to work your way into. Obviously, entering into the world of parenthood accelerates the process of being full-fledged adult. And I semi-jokingly say I really only want to be an adult when I have to, which obviously occupies most of my time, although there are times when you can let your veritable hair down and those are enjoyable as well. But, I think the beautiful thing about where we are as a firm at Towerpoint, and I don't know if I want to say, I hate to be cliched, but the fact that Lori and Nathan were part of the family, came with me when we broke from our former employer to launch Towerpoint, and now also have Steve and Jonathan and Michelle as we continue to build out this boutique firm, is a close second, obviously, to the family that I go home to every evening. But it's not, and I was just talking with a client about this literally 45 minutes ago, that you come to work and you spend more of your time obviously with your colleagues than you do with your family on a lot of days. And to be able to sit and really feel like I would take a bullet for any one of these people here, and I care extremely about all of them, and they're fun people to hang out with, and we're building an awesome culture. And it's just good. It's a great environment where if we're all going to go to battle with each other every day, then you better like who it's with. And with Towerpoint, we all have our issues as well, but for the most part, we're a pretty darn happy family. That's great.
I like it. Well, Joe, people are ready for that difference making tip. What do you have for them?
Well, and the best word that I'll use is unsettled. We're in unsettled times. People are feeling unsettled. Clients are feeling unsettled. Investors are feeling unsettled. Pretty much across the globe, things are unsettled. And what we try to focus on here at the firm, myself personally, is trying to focus energy on controllables. And it's not rocket science, George, but we certainly have to have an awareness and a sensitivity to and be attuned to what's happening in the world around us, be it politics, be it economy, be it markets, be it sports, whatever. But a lot of that's out of our control. And so what we try to do within working with our clients, helping them to build and protect their wealth and net worth, as well as what I'm trying to do at home with both Henry and Josephine, is help focus on controllables and focus on process. And day to day, week to week, it will be a question mark. what happens or doesn't happen or takes place, that is out of our control. But if you continue to focus energy on controllables, on process, I'm a firm believer that over time, good things will continue to happen. So don't worry about what you don't have control over and sink your energy into what you do.
Well, I think that is great stuff. That definitely gets come on. Joe, thank you so much for coming on. Where can people learn more about you? How can they engage with you and Towerpoint Wealth?
We have focused a lot of energy and time on building out a robust website, which is a good digital storefront, www.towerpointwealth, TOWERPOINT, towerpointwealth.com.
Excellent. Well, if you enjoyed this much as I did, show Joe your appreciation and share today's show with a friend who also appreciates good ideas, go to towerpointwealth.com. It's TOWERPOINT wealth.com and check out other great resources that Joe and the rest of his team are working on. And if there's an opportunity, then absolutely get in touch. Thanks again, Joe.
George, it's a pleasure. Thanks for letting me contribute today.
Thank you, brother. And until next time, keep fighting the good fight, as we are all in this together.